How's it going, YouTube? 4 Ranch here today, showing you one of my favorite pistols of all time, and that is the Colt 1911. But more specifically, this is the 1911 Railgun Edition, and the reason it is called that is obviously because there is the tactical rail for any kind of accessories, lights such as this one, lasers, whatever you want to put on it. This was the first 1911 that Colt made with this rail, so it was pretty neat when it came out. Originally, it was produced for their 100-year anniversary in 2011. So, taking a quick look around this particular 1911, and it does have a decent amount of wear and tear. This is by no means a safe queen. This gets used and abused regularly out at 4 Ranch. Comes with a stainless national match barrel. This is 5 inches. This is the full government length, and you can see there, Colt railgun. So it is marked on that side. Comes with the Novak low profile sights. What it did not come with are these grips. These I put on aftermarket. I believe I paid like $120 for them. They're the G10, the layered laminate material. And what I really like them, other than the looks, is they form together to create a ramp there for faster reloads, which is really nice because these single stack 1911 magazines are really small and kind of hard to index when reloading quickly. For those of you that don't know a whole lot about 1911s, one of the best features in my opinion about these are how safe they are. So not only does it have a ambidextrous thumb safety, by the way, not all of them do have the ambidextrous thumb safeties. Mine did come with the ambidextrous, which is a nice touch. So you do have your standard safety, but what you also have is on the back here, if you're not holding it, if this is not pressed in while in your hand, it will not fire. So you can see it's not pressed in. It is unloaded, guys. I'll show you that. If this is not pressed in, you can pull that trigger all day long. It's not going to go off, but as soon as this is pressed in and the safety is off, then the hammer will drop. So kind of a cool feature right there. It's a pretty safe gun. The main reason I wanted to make this video is actually to show something that most 1911 owners may not realize when thinking that they want to buy a 1911, and that is how complicated the disassembly can be compared to other pistols. So this is a design from 1911, guys, over 100 years old. It's an awesome design. Obviously, it's still in use today for that reason. However, since it is so backdated, the takedown is not as simple as modern handguns. The weapon is clear, no magazine, empty chamber, good to go, because you will actually kind of have to look towards the barrel. So if you look here on this front part, there is what is called the barrel bushing. So what you got to do is you got to press this in right here, which is actually called your recoil spring plug. And when that's pushed in, you can then rotate your barrel bushing. So when that's rotated out of the way, be careful, the spring is under tension like they always warn. You can take that out. So when that is removed, what you can then do, you swing it the opposite way. I'm sorry if this is looking terrible on camera, maybe swing it the opposite way, then that can come out freely. So, next step. If you look here, you have this notch, and that's where the slide will lock back, but there's a smaller notch right here. So what you got to do is move this back to where it lines up just right with that small little indent, and then from the back side you push this pin free, and when that's free, your slide can come off. When the slide is off, that is then when you can take the barrel out. And to take it out, rather than pulling it out this way, you got to move this tab down and it'll slide right out the front. So let me just lay out all these parts. Hopefully they're showing up on my countertop here. But this is pretty much your basic breakdown, and that's why there's a lot more parts and it's a lot more tedious than your typical modern handgun. So now that it's taken apart, I guess I'll let you take a look at the inside. Sure, not too many people will do that on some of the pistol reviews, and mine's a little dirty. Like I said, not a safe clean. It's probably due for cleaning. So I'll just kind of rotate this around so you can get a view what's on the inside. So pretty simple, not a whole lot of things that can get snagged. Inside of the slide is pretty basic. You'll notice that there's some cutouts right here, and those are actually your locking lugs. So the barrel will actually lock into those. You can see where that'll go on the inside of your slide there. Alright, so unfortunately reassembly is also just as tedious, if not more tedious, than putting it back or taking it apart. So first things first, you want to go ahead and get your barrel, and the technical term for this is actually your barrel link. So if we want to be technical, you got to make sure the barrel link is tucked down so that it'll slide freely into your slide. Make sure it's seated back all the way. And once that's in place, you'll go ahead and get your guide rod. You actually got to set this here before sliding it back onto the frame. So that part's a little tricky. I'll usually just use my thumb and hold it in place. Take my frame and begin sliding it on. And this is not too smooth because the spring isn't back in it yet. So see how I got my guide rod tucked in there so it won't fall out. And then you kind of got to force it back because, again, it's not very smooth. It's not fully on the track yet without the spring. The next thing you got to do is, first of all, line up that small little notch that I showed you guys earlier to that spot, and then, if you hopefully can see through this hole, I'll kind of move this barrel. That part that you had to tuck down, the barrel link, has to be lined up through that hole. So you got to get that there, which can be a little tricky. And then you'll take your slide stop, you got to put it through here and get this to go back in place. And this part right here is probably the most frustrating step because it doesn't always want to go back in. One thing I'll tell you guys is be careful not to scratch the side of your 1911 while trying to force it in. It'll make a nice little scratch, and a lot of the guys like to call it the idiot scratch, so don't put an idiot scratch on your 1911. One thing you can try to do is try to hold that pin in. Oh, you hear that, guys? My food's ready in the oven, but anyways, you got to try to push that pin in with something. They do sell a tool for it, but sometimes if you get lucky, if you come from the bottom right here, kind of pushing upwards and down, it'll go in place, just like that. So actually, it's not quite in. So if you can see that, here's an example of why it can be very frustrating. That pin is only pushed down on the first part of the tab. So I'm going to go ahead and try to push it in a little more. It's not looking like it wants to work with me, so what you got to do then is push it back out and try again. Alright, so trying again. I guess it's kind of cool. You guys got to see firsthand what I'm talking about, how it can be frustrating. Coming in again from the bottom, I will go ahead and try to get it to pop in. Alright, so of course this always happens when I'm actually on camera for you guys, but promise before doing this video I practiced a few times and it worked. But let me show you if it does get hung up like this, what you can do. And I'm about being a minimalist, so since you already have your spring on hand, what you can do, and be careful, don't ruin your spring, and if you don't want to do this, by all means don't do it, but this is how I do it, being a minimalist, not having any extra tools around. You can use this spring to kind of pull that pin back while pushing it down, and it'll go in. So that's one way of doing it. Alright, so I'm going to still try for you guys just so I can show you the right way or better way of doing it. And if you have any tips, please comment below, because this has always been a pain for me as a 1911 owner. But doing it without pressing that pin down and just pushing that lever in, oh, there we go. So it is possible. Got it on camera to prove it, but that's it for that. Alright, so we got the slide reassembled, and you can see that it's on there, it's not going anywhere. However, we still got to put our recoil spring back in. So taking a look at this real quick, you'll notice that this end, I guess if you want to call it, has a bit of an overlap, whereas this end is more open. And this actually has a little bit larger of a diameter, whereas this one is more tapered shut. So what I do is I actually put the more open end in first, because then it can move freely on that guide rod. Whereas if you put this, it actually kind of snags and gets hung up on that guide rod because it squeezes it. And as that slide goes back, it pushes it further back, and then it's kind of, you pretty much have to pull your spring out when you want to disassemble it. So just to avoid extra friction that's not needed, I go ahead and insert my spring that way. But before we do that, you just got to take this, and you'll see that there's a notch right here. Rotate it to where that notch just goes right into the empty slot. Rotate it all the way to the right. Again, putting the spring in the way I just explained. Go ahead and do so. Grab that cap, push it down just enough to where this can rotate past, and then with that spring tension, it catches right there. And that's it. Your 1911 is finally reassembled. So just a quick function check. Make sure the slide still catches, releases, safety still works, and then with the trigger will still pull, and then upon the slide going back, it'll reset, and then that the safety still works. So that's what I like to do after reassembling guns. Again, when you know that it is definitely cleared, just to make sure everything's put together properly. And one quick comparison for you guys, especially if you are potentially a new pistol buyer, I'm going to show you how much easier a modern pistol, such as my M&P 9 Compact, is to disassemble. So all you got to do is lock the slide back. You can then rotate the disassembly lever, take the safety off, because when you release the slide forward, you need to pull the trigger, and then the slide will actually go right off. The self-contained recoil spring as well as the barrel come out that easily. 4 pieces, and I'll show you how fast it reassembles as well. Barrel just goes right back in. Put the recoil spring, and then once you line up the slide to the frame, you are in business. So already by pulling the slide back, you'll notice that the disassembly lever went back up, and the pistol is fully reassembled that much faster. So just something to consider. This is my favorite gun. However, you can see by this video, that's just something you need to know when you're considering a 1911. As always, guys, have a good one, and I appreciate your time for watching this video. Drop a comment if you have anything that you want to see on this channel, and please like and subscribe for more content.